we've not made a bow for a while, so I thought what we'd do this time is do one from start to finish. And what I'd like to do is something similar to this bow here. Now this, you may be able to see here, has sort of tips made with rosewood and ash, and it also has a slice of rosewood coming through it and some slices also on the handle section, and the handle section is carved in to look like that. So we're going to make one of these, not with the rosewood though. We're going to use purple heart on this. I managed to get a piece of purple heart the other day, and I'm going to make an ash bow with some of the purple heart in, just to give it a little bit more strength. Now, to show you what we've got here so far, for the backing strip we have a piece of hickory. This is currently about it's about 5-6 millimeters. That's going to come down to 3 millimeters. The length of this, by the way, is 1800 millimeters. I tell a lie. It's 1850. It's got 2.5 over and above for the nocks on either side. So from knock to knock, the bow is going to be 1800 millimeters, and that's going to be the backing strip. Now I have here a piece of purple heart, which is a really nice dense wood, but this piece has got quite a bend in it. It's quite a bendy piece of wood, so we're going to try to cut this in half and match it oppositely to still be able to get the straight line of the bow out of the curve, so to speak. So we've got the hickory, we've got a piece of purple heart, and then we're having some ash. Now the ash is in 2 pieces right now, and I'm going to glue these 2 pieces together in the middle like so, and it's quite wide. The reason for this essentially is the plank of ash that are bought is in fact this width, so we've just been cutting strips off it. But having it this width, what I find is if the grain has got a slight runoff on it, with it being this wide, you can still mark out the exact run of the bow to not have any runoffs of the grain in the finished bow. So one of our first things is going to be to billet this together, to splice it together. We'll also have a section of ash here for the handle. Now this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this a couple of times, and I'm going to put some very thin strips of this purple heart into it, just for decorative purposes really. And then we're going to make some tips for the bow, which will be on top of the hickory backing. We're going to have first of all a very thin piece of the purple heart, and then we're going to have another piece of the ash, and that should make quite a nice looking bow. As I say, this is the sort of thing we're aiming for. This bow pulls at about 40 pounds, 42 pounds, something like that. It's made of ash. It remains nice and straight. It was made with slight deflects in it to begin with, so that in the tillering process we're going to end up with something which is fairly straight and recurved tips, slight recurved tips. So that's enough of that. We're going to go through the whole process at this point, and what we're going to start with is I want to cut 2 strips of this purple heart. Now I'm going to cut them at about 5 millimeters to give myself enough room to taper them off. We'll want this a little bit thinner at the tips than we do in the core or in the centre of the bow. This will probably end up around the 2 millimeters at the tip and about 4-5 millimeters in the centre. So the very first thing that we're going to do is on the bandsaw, I'm going to cut 2 strips off the purple heart. Right, so the purple heart has been through the bandsaw, and we've got 3 pieces of it here, and these are all about 6 millimeters wide. If we just zero that off, put it into millimeters. That one is 6.9, 5.5, 6.3. All of those are going to get put through the sander thicknesser, and they're going to end up about 5mm, so pretty much 5mm at the deepest point. Obviously the one which we're going to use for the core of the bow, we want to taper on it, and we'll do that later. But first of all, we want to get those down to a uniform depth in the middle of about 5mm. The handle section I've also cut into 3 pieces here. Now this is going to take the Purple Heart in between, just for the patination of the handle really. Diameter or measurements of the handle. The handle is 32mm long. Sorry, 32 centimeters long. It's 32mm wide, and it's about 30 deep. When that gets the Purple Heart into it, it's going to end up about 40. I may take a little bit off each of these. I mean, I'll continue updating the dimensions as we go, just so it's going to change a little bit as we go. But that's for the handle. The Purple Heart, we can use one for the internal core of the bow on top of the ash, and we can use another one. We can chop this up and get some handle sections out of it, and we can use a little bit of that for the tips as well. What else can I tell you? The hickory's there. This needs to come down to 3mm thick, and that's pretty much my next task. I think the next thing that we want to do is get these through the sander thicknesser, get everything smartened up and nice, all parallel, uniform. Then we can start gluing some pieces together. We can glue the handle together, we can glue the main ash core of the bow together, and we can glue the pieces for the tips together. So that's the next thing, but right now we need to put all of this through the sander thicknesser and get it down to the right sort of depth.